we're going to go talk to Zeno. Zeno says there is scientific evidence for God. Zeno, how are you today?
Hey, I'm good. How about you?
Not bad. Not bad. So
ready for this evidence?
Yeah, real quick. I just want to ask,
Sure.
What is evidence?
All right. We had this conversation before. So I said last time, we all need to define evidence. So you have to give me your definition. I have to give you I have to give you mine, and Katie has to give hers.
All right. Well, I'll plant a flag, because a lot of times when I hear people talking about evidence, they're talking about reasons they believe something. And I think that evidence is anything that can be used to demonstrate that a claim is true. So, for example, if I said that I believe that my peanut butter and jelly sandwich is talking to me, and I believe that because the leprechaun told me, I have not yet provided evidence. I've complicated things. So when people tell me they have evidence, what I'm hoping that they're going to bring to the table is anything that can be used to demonstrate that their claim is true. If that works for everybody, maybe we can dive into the substance of this.
I guess what I would add is I guess what I'd add is that, like, evidence is often, you can talk about like pieces of evidence, and you're often trying to build up enough evidence for a claim that there's no other sort of explanation that evidence points to. Because we often get into this argument about whether 100 people claiming something is itself evidence, and you could say in some way it is, and in some ways it isn't, but it's not enough to convince people most of the time. Because you need different forms of evidence to build up this kind of picture. So, I mean, if you had a piece of evidence and you're like, oh, we've done this scientific test, and it turns out that potentially this could, point to God, but it could also point to aliens, and it could also point to a giant space wizard, then like that might be a piece of evidence, but it's not going to be evidence that's going to convince me, I guess.
Okay.
So that's maybe what I would add.
So I would say I have a bit of mathematical evidence that's substantial to me, and that evidence would be, first of all,
wait, what happened to your definition of evidence?
Okay. That is my definition. I agree with what you both said. So I'm saying that I'm providing evidence, but it's mathematical evidence. Mathematical evidence works for me. Does that work for you?
Is mathematical evidence the same as scientific evidence?
It could be scientific. I think a bit of math could help.
When you say
math is like a tool for science, isn't it?
Well, yeah, because math deals with axioms and how numbers perform, right?
Yeah.
But science deals with what we can observe and test and reproduce, and science is a way of trying to learn things about reality, right?
So creating a model of the world.
We use math in science, right?
Yeah, for sure. Math is a tool.
We use math in science.
Yeah.
Math is used in science.
Right, but when you say you have scientific evidence for God, I just, because I'm trying.
It sounds like experimental data. That's what it sounds like.
That is exactly right.
Yeah.
Can we get to it?
Go for it. I'm excited.
If you guys are okay. So I would start off with a single question, which points to the evidence. At least it's substantial for me, which would be, I just want a simple answer. Do you know everything about the universe? Yes or no?
I don't.
I don't either. Before you keep going, would you just let me know what you mean by no? Like, can you just let me know what knowledge is?
Yes. What you understand in the natural world, you yourself.
Some things that I understand are wrong.
Okay, because when I think about knowledge, J. Mike and I have talked about this a little bit recently too, because it's not a perfect definition, but I like to go with justified true belief. So when I say I know something, I have justified true belief. So when I hear you say, do I know everything about the universe? I'm going immediately, no. I do not have justified true belief about everything.
Okay.
No one does.
Can we put a number on that, like a metric? Like, how much do you think you know versus
I don't think we can know how much there is to know.
That is exactly right.
I don't think we can even know what order of magnitudes or even order of magnitude of things to know.
Yeah.
Would you say it's a small number?
What you mean? What my percentage of knowledge of facts about the universe?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't even think that really makes sense as a claim, because like, what is a knowledge? Like, are the units here? I mean,
Again,
in a way, there's an
100%
infinite number of things
is
to know, because every time another nanosecond passes, all the particles in the entire universe have changed state and have moved around.
Yeah.
And then there's suddenly 10 to the 80 new pieces of information, or you could just call that one piece of information. It depends where's the like granularity on what a thing to know is.
For the sake of letting you do for the sake of letting you go down the train that you're like the track that you're trying to take us down, I'll say I know very, very little from the when weighed against the universe.
I'll say 69%.
Okay,
that's a good number.
Geez. Okay. So we have a small number and a big number. So let's start with the small number. So what I would do mathematically, it's just a little trick that I'm trying to apply here, is that you would take everything, which is 100%, and subtract it. So if you know 1%, then you would subtract 1% from 100%, and then you're left with 99.999 gray area. If you say
not even gray, it's not even gray. It's a black area.
Well, it's not,
let's say I know like virtually nothing. Where's your evidence?
Okay. I think we could use a reductio ad absurdum argument here, and prove that there's evidence within all the space that like this is the stuff you don't know. So we could use the reductio ad absurdum to say, well, you don't know what all this stuff is. So how are we able to?
You don't have evidence, but you're saying that somewhere in all the stuff we don't know, maybe there's evidence.
Well, there's a certain. Would you agree there are certain types of evidence? Right? Like,
wait a minute. You said you had scientific evidence for God, and now you're doing
that
this
there might be evidence out there. Like I'll agree. If someone wants to, if you're making the claim that there might be evidence for God out there, okay, I accept that.
There is evidence. Yeah.
Well, you're making the claim there is it. You need to give us this evidence.
I would say. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is that there's so many different kinds. I'm going to raise one called transrational evidence. So transrational evidence would be somewhat of a new term that I'm creating, but I feel it's necessary to create this new form of evidence so we can understand that there are things we don't know before we get there, but we do have evidence for it if we could put the pieces together. So
let me ask you something.
Okay,
so I'm like, I think of an unsolved crime, and
yes.
if I were to go to the police and say, hey, you know this unsolved murder that you have? I have evidence that Zeno did it. And they were like, you do? And I said, yes, I have scientific evidence that Zeno did it. And the detective goes, okay, let me have the evidence. And I said, well, you know, all that shit that you don't know about the universe, it's out there.
Okay. Greatly put. I like, well said. So when we're talking about a God, this isn't going to be a little bit different than the courtroom method, because now we're talking about, I'm not going to say something supernatural, but we're talking about something a bit more complicated than like a murder case, right? Because we know people get away with shit all the time.
Why is it more complicated
all the time?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't see why it's different. I mean, you're trying to prove beyond reasonable doubt. I mean, or maybe you're trying to prove even, or however you want to like explain your evidence. But like, why is it more complicated? We shouldn't be putting anyone in jail until we have enough evidence that they definitely did it.
Yeah, and I'm just talking about like, when is it time to believe something? We always return to this question of when is it time to believe something, and it's when there's evidence is typically something people can agree on, unless they're really committed to faith. So yeah, this whole thing started with you. You said you had scientific evidence for God, and now you're talking about the evidence exists somewhere out in the ether and the unknown. And I'm wondering I'm wondering if you'd be willing at this point to admit that you don't have scientific evidence, or present the scientific evidence if you're still keeping it in your pocket somewhere.
Yes. So the scientific evidence is using a form of math to apply to the science. We do apply math to science. and we're working backwards. So we have to reverse engineer. Scientifically, we know that we live in this demonstrably large world. We know it's large. We know it's expanding. We can prove it's expanding. So we know for a fact that we're on a pale blue dot, which is so small, so tiny in comparison to the world. This is all science. So we're working backwards. We understand there's a lot of stuff out there scientifically. So the evidence technically is right in front of you, technically, but you have to be able to put the pieces together.
Okay, so I'm just gonna follow what you're putting. So we're small. There's a lot of stuff we don't know, and that is not evidence for anything.
Yeah, all we have is the knowledge that we do know.
What am I not putting together? Help me out. There's stuff that we don't know.
Okay, what? All right, so we're not able to put together. Why I got to wrap up soon. I know you guys got to move on. But we're not putting together all the tiny pieces of what makes up the universe and why it has functionality.
But what does any of that have to do with the God?
I mean, also we are like, I mean, every piece of knowledge we have, we can put together, and that's kind of like our body of scientific knowledge for the whole of humanity, isn't it? I mean, what pieces do we need to put together that we have that will lead to any kind of evidence for God? I can't see it. Can you? Well, maybe a better way to ask this is: can you explain why your argument is different to "we know 1% of the things in the universe, therefore God"? Like, I don't see how it's different to. It sounds like you're saying there is a lot out there to know, so there's probably evidence for God out there. I don't see the difference between that and your argument.
Oh. Well, I guess I should have defined God like any,
any God would do.
God to me is, no, I don't believe in the magic guy with the beard, but I'm just talking about the first domino to start all of this. I would call that God, if that could simplify.
I mean, yeah, you could make if you want to make a definition for God as like the thing that caused the universe. I mean, or even if you just wanted to say, God is the thing that caused the universe, then we can say, well, there was some kind of cause for the universe, whether the universe is just like looping around or whether it was created or something, or whether it just appeared naturally. But if you just call that God, then you might be calling just like a process of physics God, or you might be calling like an infinite loop that's always existed God. And then that, I mean, that's kind of like saying, yeah, but that's. I mean, I feel like that's a very uninteresting definition for God, because it's like saying,
it's just a cause. I'm not saying that it's omnipotent. I'm saying it's just the first cause.
Well, if you want to say
giving it properties like,
but we don't even know. I mean, for all we know,
we don't know there was a first cause.
For all we know, the universe is past eternal. And there's lots of models out there about our universe that don't involve a first cause in this way that you're trying to make a case for it, which is going great, by the way. The thing that I am wondering is just where is the evidence, though? There hasn't been any evidence. It's just argument from ignorance, argument from incredulity, and that's it.
So the evidence. First, do you know what transrationalism is?
No, I'm just regularly rational, I guess. I have not.
I'm just trans.
Yeah, yeah. Katie is both trans and rational. I'm just rational. I'm cis rational.
So transrational typically goes beyond what science could tell us right now. That's the transrationalism of
when we get hang on a second. When we say goes beyond what science can tell us, I mean what science is here is the method we know how to or the best way we have to find out what is true, and we do that through experimentation and observation and testing things, making predictions and seeing if the predictions come true. That's what science is. So if we wanted to prove, whether something exists, one way we could do it is go up and like touch it, take a photo of it, get someone else to go up and touch it, see if it's, it's still there the next day. We can do all these experiments to see if something exists. And that's kind of using science to find out whether it exists. But if you're saying there's another way to find out whether something is true or not, then you kind of need to demonstrate that it can even find out things that are true. Like, I mean, a good example of this would be comparing like medicine to prayer. When healing something, we can use science to test whether the medicine works, and we can use science to test whether the prayer works by looking to see if we have 1 million people and we, you know, have a control group and we give medicine to some, we give prayer to some of them, we can look at the rates in which they heal. But then we're just doing science. We're just looking at the evidence. I mean, that's what doing science is. But you're saying there's another way to know whether something's true. Like, what is that way, and how do we show without using science that it works?
It's a way of knowing things about the unknown.
How can we predict something without testing to see whether your prediction is true?
So you're going to have to use transrationalism. So you have to be able... here's a good thought experiment. So 1,000 years ago, could you prove the events that are happening today 1,000 years ago without the evidence to show?
Could I prove what, sorry?
You probably could not provide any evidence whatsoever, but we know it exists today. So a good transrational argument would be to understand that another 1,000 years will pass and we will have more technology, even though we can't give you tangible evidence of it. But we should understand through transrationalism.
I hate when people say tangible evidence, like there's something, like there's intangible evidence. You can't give evidence. Okay. Let's just be honest. Let's cut through all the bullshit, because what you're talking about is making assumptions about what is not known, which is not transrationalism. That's just not being rational. So you can't be not rational and then use a word with rational in it and pretend it's rational. That, like, I can't let that happen.
Okay, wait.
So like if someone was making claims about what's going to happen 1,000 years from now, and say, oh, I know these things are going to happen because there's a lot of shit that we don't know about the universe right now, I would not have any reason to think that what they were saying is accurate.
Okay, so Kenneth, have you ever invested in anything or created anything? I could circle this back around really quick before I leave. So,
are you sure you want to do that and not just give the evidence for your stuff? Because you said you had scientific evidence for God.
I'm giving evidence. I think the evidence that I'm giving is transrationalism evidence, and I'm trying to walk you guys through what that looks like. Like,
it's not evidence.
But it's not.
It's not evidence.
It's a form of evidence.
You cannot, no, it's not. If you can't use any of this bullshit to demonstrate that anything you're saying is true, it's not evidence. It's just bullshit.
Well, no, the evidence. So, all right.
Okay, I've got another angle. Hang on. How about we're using your transrational thing? How is it the case that we can't use your transrational? Like, we're using transrational to say there's evidence for God. Can I not just use transrational to say there's evidence of a giant space frog wizard? Like, what in transrational says that that's not possible?
Well, you're giving the properties of. You're giving me properties of something I can't see. I'm not giving you the properties of a God. So I'm not telling you what it looks like.
You gave me one property and you said that it was the first mover.
Yeah.
No. One property would be, it is the beginning of your universe. I'm not telling you what color it is or what it looks like.
I'm saying that there's something that was the beginning of your God, and it's a frog wizard called Carlos. I don't know, like...
And you're making assumptions about the properties of our universe.
Touché. Say that again, Kenneth.
You're making assumptions about the properties of our universe. Properties that could be explained by a space frog wizard.
So wait. So this is why I spoke of earlier, how much do you think you know about the world? And the reason I brought that up is because all the area that you don't understand is what we need to learn about. But unfortunately,
I know just enough about the world to know that nothing that you're saying makes sense. Because and that's the thing. That's the thing about like how we think is more important than like the sum total of what we know. You know, if you have like some basic critical thinking skills, then you don't have to know a whole bunch of shit to know that making stuff up about the unknown isn't a good way to arrive at true conclusions.
And that's demonstrated
very well said,
using science.
But a long time ago, we used to believe things that are clearly false now, so we have to go into the same. ideology that maybe 1,000 years later we're going to be like, oh, we had all this shit wrong. And
I agree with you already.
Progress.
I've already agreed with you that there might be evidence for God, like that we just haven't discovered, possibly. Okay. But we don't have it, and so we can't strongly say whether there is or there isn't out there.
Yeah, it would be disingenuous.
All we can say is that we don't have it yet. I mean, it's the way, kind of what I'm thinking of. I don't know if this really makes sense, but like if we arrived at like a big meadow, like huge meadow that goes off to the horizon, and someone's like, "Oh, I wonder if there's like a 7-leaf clover here," and I can look down at my feet and be like, "Well, I can see like 100 clover plants, and they're all 3 leaves," and then it feels like you're turning up and saying, well, there's so many clovers here. Like we only know 1% of the field, so therefore there is a 7-leaf clover. And we're like, hang on, no.
Well, no, I'm turning up.
Like we can go and look for all the clovers, and that might take 1 billion years. But right now, I'm just saying, yeah, maybe there is, but we don't right now have not looked at enough clovers to say for sure there is or there isn't.
Okay. So that's where the evidence lies. When you say not right now, we're making a claim based off of time that not at this moment we don't, but we know that we will, and that's what
we might not.
Transrationalism comes in.
That's not evidence.
Later, we're going to have more evidence.
Later, we'll have more evidence, but we might eventually explore the whole universe and find out there's no God. I mean, right?
The clover thing was that was perfect, man. She teed it up for you. Like saying we may have evidence later ain't evidence now.
Yeah. If you need to go, I think.
All right. Well, Zeno, you have a great rest of your day, and I don't know, like maybe think some more about what constitutes evidence.
There is one possible thing we didn't think of, Kevin, and that is that Zeno might have been a 4-dimensional being, because just seemed to be in a situation where time didn't really matter. Like, just because we don't know it now, we know it in the future. And like, if you've been to the future and you are claiming that we find the evidence from God, I mean, 1, please come back to this time and bring it for us. And then 2, cool, take me traveling.
Yeah. Okay.